Back to it. You're 17-2.
Yes, I'm 17-2.
All right, and you're on a three-fight win streak, which I think is pretty impressive in today's middleweight division. You know, I think it's the deepest it's been in a long time. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, you have examples like when Anderson Silva ruled the middleweight division. There wasn't necessarily this many different fighters that you could see, take on the champ. You have obviously Whitaker at the top. He's out for a little bit, but you even have Israel Adesanya and someone like Kevin Gastelum fighting for the interim belt, which basically means the number one contender spot. And then you have Yoel, that's always there. Paulo Costa. You have a whole bunch of fighters, and that's even with a couple fighters running off to the light heavyweight division with like Luke Rockhold and someone that I fought, Thiago Santos, who's
I was
probably
gonna bring that up. That
yeah,
you were actually two of many men who did lose to Thiago Santos, but you made it to a decision, which I think is
yeah,
really impressive,
exactly.
considering what he's doing in light heavyweight right now.
Exactly. I'm pretty much the only one, win or lose, that has ever gone to decision with him. He
Exactly.
is a savage. And even that fight, it was a close fight. I won the first round. The second round was kind of in between, and he obviously took it away
Hmm.
come the third round. And part of that was I had a hair wardrobe malfunction where my hair kind of came out and was distracting me. And I made a couple of wrong moves in the third where I should have zigged when I should have zagged
Hmm.
because I was getting the best of him standing up, but I went to go for takedowns, and he obviously took advantage of it.
Exactly. If he fights John Jones next, how do you see his chances against him?
Well, I think he has a much better chance than Anthony Smith.
Hmm.
I think he's just so aggressive that, again, he's lost, very important fights in regards to, against Musasi, he got lit up a little quick in that fight, but that was partly, it seems, because of the weight cut, and also because of, again, he's one of those people where he's able to, once he gets his rhythm, he's a very dangerous person, and the longer it goes, the more dangerous it is for him.
I think he
So,
has. Yeah, I
yeah,
honestly think he has the best chance against John Jones because the way to beat John Jones is to get close to him.
in his face, just in his
Exactly.
face.
You can't be afraid, you know? And
Yeah,
that's what was wrong with Anthony Smith.
yeah.
He had the right game plan, and I thought it would like if he executed that, he would win, but I think he got nervous in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was there. I watched the fight. You
Hmm.
could definitely see the body language. It was a deer in the headlights. And
Yeah, yeah.
Jones, in many ways, is someone that fights to his competition.
Hmm.
And Anthony Smith was pretty much just on defensive mode, and that's why the fight went 3 rounds. There's other examples of that you can see with John Jones, like someone like Rashad Evans, for instance. Like he
Hmm.
he basically was
He
piecing
couldn't
him up.
execute, yeah.
We couldn't finish
Yeah.
because, again, you need someone to be kind of in your face too, in order for him to kind of rise to the occasion.
Exactly, yeah. So okay, getting back to you.
Yes,
You have a big fight coming up against Derek Brunson. I think this is your biggest fight yet. Would you say that?
it's the biggest fight in the capacity that I'm the co-main event, and
Hmm.
I'm also he'll be the highest
Ranked.
ranking that I'll fight at the time.
Hmm.
Obviously, someone like Tiago and even Brad Tavares went higher in regards to, or just about as high
For sure.
in regards to the rankings. But it's definitely the most important fight. But every fight's the most important fight, so that's how I'm treating it. I'm really excited to be back in Ottawa
Yeah.
and taking on a tough competitor on home ground.
Hmm.
And the kind of joke that I say is there will be no peace in the peace tower.
I like that. But when's that fight gonna go down again?
May 4th, and may the 4th be with you too.
Oh, that's perfect. Awesome. But
And
so how would you? I think how would you see this fight going down with Derek Brunson? Because we saw how it went with the striking with Israel Adesanya. I think you're gonna definitely impose your game plan. Am I right with that?
Well, I think with Derek, he's a tough individual, but sometimes he kind of goes a little wild. The joke that we kind of have with my coaches and stuff like that is never go full Brunson. Uh, Basically, You could see that with the Whitaker fight where he just goes right at you, right?
Yeah.
And not kind of giving away too much, but he very much exposes himself, whether it's getting hit or, kind of leaving his hips behind him because he's trying to knock your block off. So his fist is right in your face trying to hit you, but he's giving up his hips, for instance. So you could, again, attack the legs in any capacity or the hips in some capacity as well. So I think he's a great opponent to take advantage and kind of shine. And like you said, oppose my will and have a breakout, performance in a co-main event. And at that point, I'll establish myself in a top 8 in my division.
Exactly. That'd be good. So aside from your fighting inside the cage, obviously you have this fight outside the cage with cannabis use and mixed martial arts. And before I wanted to get into that fight, the first question I wanted to ask you about that was, when was the first time you tried cannabis?
I definitely tried cannabis years ago before I was a professional athlete, but never in the sense of a medical scope. In the last few years, I have used it specifically as because it is the best option as in regards to medicine as prescribed by my doctor for my condition, which is called bilateral neuropathic pain. So I basically have nerve damage in my upper extremities.
Okay.
It consists of symptoms like radiated heat, stingers every time I hit it. So like the best example would be like, when you hit your funny bone, how that feels. Sometimes I have that all over my hands, all over my upper
that
body.
doesn't sound good at all, man.
Yeah, it's not too funny.
Yeah.
So with that nerve damage, there's constant stingers, radiated heat to the point where there'll be radiated heat in my body or on my upper, like on my elbow or my forearm, and I'll hit it in training, and I don't notice because the radiating heat covers the actual the nerves, and it kind of plays tricks on me, right?
Yeah.
So I don't even realize that I'm hurt. It just kind of feels like it's burning. And I kind of go on my day, and then next thing I know, I'm on my phone, just kind of playing with my phone or whatever like that, and it's just swollen out to here. Like it'll just be swollen out to here.
Damn.
There's just fluid, and it'll be like black and blue, and I'm just like, holy crap! I didn't even notice this. It's just because, again, my nerves kind of play tricks on me. Whether it's excruciating pain one day, flare-ups where it's stinging. Or just not actually feeling any true sensation in regards to my hands in the capacity of what pain feels like, etc. So again, because of my profession, everything I kind of do revolves around punching and kicking, and a huge part of that is the hitting part. So when I have these flare-ups, it is multiplied tenfold leading up to training camp. Leading up to my fight. And that's the time when cannabis is actually looked at, and I'm told to not take my medicine due to the fact that it's on the prohibited list, and if found in my system, I could have 6 months to a year suspension where my opponent, whether it's Derek Lewis or anyone moving forward or previously, can use first-line medications. For instance, Derek Bunson could take something like Vicodin the day of the fight, and it wouldn't be an issue.
Whereas I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Where if I have cannabis in my system, not even from use of that day, but previously, because of the way it attaches to your fat molecules, it stays in weeks, if not months, for some people, depending on your body, in the way that they test it. So again, I'm fighting for medical equality in the capacity that I'm just asking to be able to use my medicine as prescribed by my doctor. But unfortunately, because of the stigma and because of the outdated mindset of this one specific medicine, I'm at a competitive disadvantage. Because again, my opponents can use other first-line medications like opioids or other type of painkillers, and it wouldn't be an issue. Where my medicine is discriminated against and could be, used against me for a month, if not a year, in regards to a suspension.
And I was going to ask you that. What do you think is the stigma behind cannabis?
Well, a lot of it is unfortunately outdated laws. So in the U.S., and that's where again the United States Anti-Doping Agency is who is partnered with the UFC
Yep.
as a third-party tester. So they are a United States company, and the United States looks at cannabis as a Schedule One drug, which means it's even higher rating in regards to criminality than something like heroin, which doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, with that label, it actually is deemed to have no medical properties in
Yeah.
the States, federally, right? Where in Canada, it has been considered a medicine in some capacity since 2003. That's when the original courts, what's it called, were used to fight for cannabis as a medicine in
Mhm.
Ontario specifically, and it obviously grew for therefore in the rest of Canada. So it's a legitimate medicine in Canada, but unfortunately the U.S. does not see it that way, and that includes the United States Anti-Doping Agency. So unfortunately, the way it finds itself, they want me to exhaust all other options because what I'm applying for specifically is called a therapeutic use exemption. So I'm
Mhm.
asking for a use exemption for my medicine, which is cannabis, even though it's on the prohibited list. Because again, for neuropathic pain, cannabis has been shown to be what's it called, a positive, you know, alternative to the first line medicines. But unfortunately, that means I have to exhaust all other options. So it's a little backwards in the approach.
Mhm.
Again, my doctor is prescribing medical cannabis, but this organization says, okay, even though your doctor prescribed this for you, we don't really allow it. So we're going to need you to exhaust all other options. So I have to try every other first line medicine to make sure and rule out that it's not a good option. And again, it's not even necessarily the medicine, it's the side effects of those medicines. One example, for instance, was Lyrica, which I was on for a couple of weeks. And in that, 2, 3 week span, I gained 10 pounds because
Mhm.
of inflammation and bloatedness. And again, without getting too graphic, imagine being bloated and part of your job is getting punched and kicked in the stomach.
Yeah.
And so, again, it puts me at a competitive disadvantage beyond the fact that it doesn't work the same as cannabis, but also the side effects are even more are even more of an issue that is added on in regards to my competitive disadvantage. Again, other athletes can opt out for other medicines where I can't.
Yeah. So that's I guess that's kind of a disadvantage to you because fighting in the States is more of a risk for you because of this, correct? And we've seen so many times before people were flagged for marijuana use. Like recently, Cynthia Calvillo, she got flagged by it, and that derails a career. Like for a little bit, she was gone for a year, and it slows the momentum down for a fighter a lot. So, is this the reason why most of your fights are in Canada? Because uh, you you can use cannabis in prior to fighting in Canada.
Well, you actually can't, in the capacity that it's still the same timeline, about a month leading up to it, that I get tested for that aspect, whether it's in Canada or not, right? The USADA is still testing
Mm,
athletes no matter where they fight.
yeah.
Um, so, kind of like to also highlight the issue, um, female athletes are getting caught on a higher regular basis because again, it's the same test, but because of the way female bodies are actually composed, it's actually even more so. It stays in their body even more so, and that's why females have been getting flagged so much. Or again, the one example would be Kevin Gastelum because he's a little heavier
he's
than
a
most,
he's a
right?
thick
So
guy.
yes, he's a thick guy, so that's the reason why he got caught in regards to because it stays in your system if you have more a fat ratio, a
Yeah.
higher fat ratio, and that's why females, just because of their body makeup in general, they would be they would be at a higher risk of getting caught with the thresholds that they look. And again, it's actually even more inequality, more so towards female athletes, and that's
Hmm.
something else that I think we should definitely bring up and out in the conversation. That female, again, not only am I at a competitive disadvantage using medical cannabis, females are even more so because the test is actually geared heavily against them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You could definitely vouch for female, like equality for females, because you are a ring boy, correct?
Yes, yes, I am.
Is it ring boy
Um,
or ring man?
yes,
Ring.
ring boy, I own the trademark.
Oh, awesome. That's perfect. Honestly, because I see that as a way of bringing equality, like why take out ring girls when you could add ring boys? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's exactly the conversation I'm trying to have.
Hmm.
So like recently, like you said, like a lot on the internet in the capacity of like conversations, like whether it's blogs or articles, they've been talking about removing ring girls from combat sports. But my argument is that in the true pursuit of equality, the answer is more, not less. So,
Hmm.
like you said, why remove a ring girl when you can add a ring boy? And especially that comes to the fact that you're actually taking away a platform from females that have been able to leverage it in something quote unquote bigger, like whether it's Brittany Palmer and her ability to use her ring girl platform, um, she is, and essentially be a full time artist because of it.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things where I think that a real conversation makes a lot of sense,
Hmm.
and just doing my part. And again, not trying to distract or subtract from a great night of fights, just add my presence. And it's also the fact that I'm a fan first and foremost of mixed martial arts, and I'll have like the best seats in the house
Exactly.
as a ring boy.
So I was gonna ask you that too. So you obviously see a lot of these female fights, correct? And
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, who are you the most excited for coming up in Invicta and possibly getting into the UFC and fighting?
Well, a bunch of Invicta fighters just made it over to the UFC. Obviously, Megan Anderson, she's taking on the former champ in Invicta,
Hmm.
Felicia, who just won against Pamela that I was there
Yeah.
in a title fight. So that's an exciting fight, and the fact that they're getting more featherweights in the UFC, a lot of them will be coming from Invicta. So there are already some fighters that have paid their dues in Invicta and moving forward. But a very exciting thing that's going to be happening, unfortunately, I won't be there, is the day before my fight. The Invicta is holding a one woman one night woman tournament
Yeah.
in their division. So I'm
Hmm.
really excited. I'll be watching that. After my weigh-ins, eating
That's awesome.
and enjoying. Not necessarily front row like I'm used to at Invicta, but
Hmm.
still cheering everyone on in a great night of fights.
For sure. And so this leads to my last question. Talking about speaking of eating, if you were to recommend the best Greek food in Toronto, what
Ooh,
would it be?
well, it, best specific place. It's hard to figure out because it really depends on what you want. But like again, I'm a big believer in what's it called? You know, anything with a euro, anything with like. There's no specific place that
There has to be a
uh,
place that does it better than the rest.
better than the rest. Dang. I'm trying to like you got me down a brain fart in regards to this specific place. But if you go down to what do you call it, the Danforth, there's a bunch of places that
Of
I'll
course.
stuff my face for, stuff my face 100%. But I'm trying to think of a specific place.
You have to shout out a place. There has to be
Yeah, I'm
one.
having a brain fart.
They'd be so happy. They'd be like, "Oh my God, Elias."
You know what? I get hit in the head for a living. I'm trying to blank on a specific place, but there's a bunch of places down on the Danforth that you can grab some meals. And what's it called? Dang it.
You can, you know
Uh,
what? Tweet your answer when it comes to your head.
yeah. Well, one thing I'll actually shout out that yesterday was actually what is it? Today's the 27th.
Uh,
So yeah, today's the 27th or whatever.
hmm.
Actually, the 25th was Greek independence
Oh, okay.
that they celebrated not too long ago.
Wow.
So there was definitely some food that Greek food that I ate all around that day too.
That's really awesome. Well, Elias, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate you taking your time out of your day, and best of luck in your fight against Derek Brunson on May the 4th.
And may the fourth be with you too.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.